The View thought they could laugh it off until Karoline Leavitt's $800 million lawsuit wiped the smirk off every face on that panel.
Isn't it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on looks?
For weeks, The View treated Karoline Leavitt's $800 million lawsuit like it was nothing but a punchline. They didn't just dismiss it, they ridiculed it. On air, they smirked, cracked jokes, and waved it off like it was just another overblown complaint from the right. It wasn't just arrogance, it was open mockery. Joy Behar, always ready to throw a jab, rolled her eyes in trademark fashion and scoffed. She labeled it just another instance of a conservative playing the victim. No facts, no nuance, just a dismissive sneer and the kind of smug confidence that only comes when you think you're untouchable.
For me, and sort of lived lives of dreams deferred and poured everything in me, and just my life, how I transitioned from college. I went to college when I was 16, high school when I was 12, the struggle of that, and my career as a federal prosecutor, and then how I found my way.
Classic Joy. Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg, no stranger to controversy herself, shrugged the whole thing off like it was just another line in her long list of headlines. With the kind of confidence that comes from decades in the spotlight, she smirked and brushed the lawsuit aside. "Please," she said with that signature dismissiveness, "we've dealt with worse. This will be forgotten in a week." That one-liner? It aged like milk. Then came Sunny Hostin, the show's in-house legal expert, stepping into her usual role with visible confidence. Looking directly into the camera, she didn't stutter. "This lawsuit has no legs to stand on," she said matter-of-factly. No hesitation, no room for debate. In her eyes, it was already over before it began. She claimed it would be tossed out immediately like legal trash. For a moment, it looked like they might be right. CNN, MSNBC, even print outlets echoed their take. Legal experts came forward, calling the suit weak, saying Leavitt was just trying to muzzle the media and score points. From the outside, it looked like The View was in the clear. But behind the curtains, ABC's legal team wasn't cracking any jokes.
They really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the role.
While The View's hosts kept clowning around on camera, the atmosphere inside ABC's legal department was anything but playful. They weren't laughing. In fact, they were reportedly alarmed, deeply so. Insiders say the moment Karoline Leavitt's legal team dropped their initial evidence, the network's legal advisors realized this wasn't some political stunt. It was a loaded legal weapon. Behind the scenes, panic took hold. ABC's lawyers launched into overdrive, combing through years' worth of emails, transcripts, production notes, anything that could surface and become Exhibit A. What they uncovered wasn't just minor missteps or out-of-context remarks. It was potentially reputation ruining. ABC issued a formal public statement dripping with corporate caution. "We take all legal matters with the utmost seriousness and are committed to addressing them thoroughly and professionally." But sources close to the matter confirmed, behind that polished PR language was absolute chaos. This wasn't just about defamation anymore. The suit alleged a systematic pattern of malice, character attacks, and intentional damage to reputation. If it ever made it to open court, it could unravel the very fabric of daytime television. Internally, ABC's leadership fractured. One camp wanted to fight tooth and nail, taking the case to trial and betting on a clean win. But the other side, far more pragmatic. They pushed for a quiet, behind-closed-door settlement, anything to avoid the explosive fallout that could come from dragging private messages, off-air footage, and production room decisions into the public spotlight. And the real kicker? The women of The View had no clue how deep the damage ran. They were still on set, cracking jokes and dismissing the lawsuit with casual smugness, all while ABC's executives were trying to put out fires they never saw coming. One executive was even quoted saying, "They think this is a game, but we're already scrambling behind their backs." Then came the turning point. In a moment no one expected, The View flipped its entire tone. Gone was the snark, the sarcasm, the cocky eye rolls. Viewers watching live were stunned as the show suddenly turned careful. Whoopi Goldberg, usually loud and unapologetic, opened the segment with a tired sigh. Her voice softened. "Look," she said, "there's been a lot of hostility. Maybe it's time we take a step back." You could almost hear the producers holding their breath. Joy Behar followed, visibly nervous and fidgeting with her cue cards. "I don't know why this has to go so far," she muttered. Just weeks earlier, she was mocking Karoline for even daring to file the lawsuit. Now she was essentially asking for peace. But it was Sunny Hostin's shift that said it all. Calm, cool, and legally trained, she now looked visibly shaken. "Karoline, if you're watching," she said, "maybe we can find a way to resolve this without dragging it through the courts." It was no longer a rebuttal. It was a plea. Social media immediately exploded. Clips of their sudden change in tone were clipped, reposted, and memed into oblivion. Comment sections turned brutal. One viral post read, "If you weren't guilty, you wouldn't be begging." Conservative media pounced. YouTubers, podcasters, TikTokers, they all saw through it. This wasn't reconciliation. It was damage control. By the time the dust settled, ABC was in full-blown crisis mode. Ratings plummeted, advertisers grew skittish, internal meetings stretched into late-night war rooms as executives tried to calculate what Karoline might drop next. And Karoline? She didn't blink. Each desperate statement from the show only made her case stronger. Each reversal from the hosts made them look more guilty, more panicked, more exposed. The power dynamic had flipped. ABC wasn't defending anymore. They were pleading. Their most untouchable stars were now vulnerable. Their empire built on confidence, bravado, and ratings now looked like it was held together by duct tape and PR bandages. And Karoline? She didn't flinch. If anything, she tightened her grip. While the network scrambled to contain the fallout, she moved silently and strategically. Her legal team didn't leak. They didn't grandstand. Instead, they worked like surgeons, precise, focused, and utterly merciless. Every slip-up by The View's hosts, every dismissive laugh, every sarcastic remark was now cataloged, time-stamped, and ready to be introduced as evidence. She wasn't just suing a show. She was challenging an entire media machine. The silence from her end spoke volumes. While the network tried to control the narrative, she let their fear do the talking. And viewers noticed. Public opinion began to shift. What started as a fringe lawsuit mocked by mainstream pundits had become a David and Goliath spectacle. Social media platforms became battlegrounds. Supporters of Karoline labeled her a warrior against media arrogance. Critics of the show began digging up past controversies, giving the case more oxygen than ABC ever anticipated. And within the walls of ABC, paranoia set in. Producers were ordered to audit old episodes. Editors were rewatching years of footage to find anything remotely incriminating. Staffers were being pulled into emergency HR meetings. Interns who had once casually run coffee were now being asked to sign NDAs. A senior showrunner was overheard saying, "If we go to trial, it's not just about The View. It's the entire network under a microscope." Behind the smiles on camera, relationships were beginning to fracture. Whoopi reportedly stopped speaking to Joy off-set. Sonny and the producers clashed over messaging strategy. And the younger staffers, the assistants, the junior writers, started leaking to press outlets anonymously, feeding the growing narrative that ABC was in chaos and the show was cannibalizing itself from within. Some at the top started asking the uncomfortable question, was it time for someone to take the fall? There were whispers, quiet at first but getting louder, that perhaps letting one of the hosts go could show good faith, that maybe sacrificing one personality could save the rest. But who would it be? Joy, who had been the most vocal? Sonny, whose legal takes aged like milk? Or even Whoopi, the face of the show, but also the most polarizing? Internal factions formed. Management clashed with talent. HR clashed with legal. Meanwhile, advertisers were panicking. Major sponsors began quietly pulling their placements, asking to be temporarily removed from upcoming segments until things calmed down. But calm wasn't coming. Not anytime soon. Karoline's camp hadn't even played their biggest card yet. The sealed testimonies. Whispers swirled that a few of these sealed statements included explosive details from former employees and ex-producers who claimed the hostile culture at The View went far deeper than anyone on the outside ever saw. If even one of those testimonies was unsealed, ABC knew they wouldn't just be dealing with a court case, they'd be facing a cultural reckoning. By this point, it wasn't even about whether Karoline would win. It was about how much ABC would lose trying to stop her. And viewers? They weren't just watching anymore. They were rooting, sharing every clip, analyzing every segment, waiting for every new leak. And suddenly, Karoline Leavitt wasn't just a plaintiff, she was a symbol of the reckoning that many believe media elites had coming for a long time. So where does this go next? One thing's for sure. The View will never be the same again. Whether the lawsuit settles in silence or erupts in public court, the damage is done, the confidence is cracked, the sisterhood is fractured, and the mask has slipped. Karoline Leavitt didn't just file a lawsuit, she kicked open the door to a media empire's darkest corners. And if you thought the worst was over, you haven't seen anything yet. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're only just getting started.